I'm Gary Murphy, I'm Professor of Politics at DCU. Really, I think Fine Gael will get about a third of the vote at 33%. I think that's based around the idea that the coping classes, so-called, in other words, those who can have some disposable income, pay their bills, pay their mortgage, have steady jobs either in the public or private sector, will feel that with the fluidity in the political system, the fluidity in the opinion polls, that their best bet is to vote for the stable party of power, Fine Gael, on the grounds that Fianna Fáil are still not to be forgiven for their part in the economic collapse. I think government formation could be quite difficult, simply because it's unlikely on these poll numbers to see the government being re-elected. Certainly what is potentially likely is a government of Fine Gael Labour with a number of independents, but how stable that would be is another matter. There is certainly a significant anti-austerity attitude, I think, in the country, as we can see in the water charges, but we wouldn't want to exaggerate that too much, because water charges certainly brought many more people onto the street and will vote for left-wing parties. If we look at the opinion polls say that these left-wing groups are somewhere in around anywhere between 3 and 6%. Candidates are very constituency specific. You're looking at Murphy, Coppinger, a few others, Richard Boyd Barrett in Dunleary and others. So that 3 to 6% is very specific to a certain number of constituencies. I can see them holding the seats they have, but I wouldn't be very convinced that they will do much better than that. I think what we are likely to see as the election looms in the next month is that people putting their policies under the sort of microscope and to look at, well, what exactly would it mean if you had a government propped up by these left-wing groups. Now, of course, the reality is that many of these left-wing groups don't want to be in power. They want to be in politics. They don't want to be in power at all, simply because their manifesto would be unachievable, and they might well be happier being in opposition. Then that begs the question for citizens as well: why would I vote for these candidates if they're going to be in opposition only? And I think that's one of the big issues as we approach the election, not simply for left-wing parties like PVP, the Anti-Austerity Alliance and others, but also for Sinn Féin. I think Fine Gael has a certain cachet amongst people who are comfortably off or doing well, and the macroeconomic indicators, as we know, are much better and have been for the last 6 months or so. Reduction in unemployment, reduction in the national debt. The difficulty is translating that into votes at the ballot box when services, particularly in health, education to a lesser extent maybe, water charges, when these issues remain, property tax, when they remain quite live for the citizens of this state,